Hey you guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. This video has been a very long time coming, but it's also one that I have been so stoked to do. Oh my gosh, I've been excited about this video for like a month. So here's the premise, right? I don't know if you guys have seen this brand floating around that's been touted as this like dupe brand that like spot on dupes a bunch of famous products. It's called MCO Beauty. It's actually an Australian brand, but it's been becoming more and more available in the US. So a lot of beauty people have been trying it and reviewing the products in comparison to the original high-end priced item. So, Australian brand. In case you didn't know, I just got back from a trip to Australia. Travel vlog is coming. It requires a lot of editing, okay? So, I'm getting there. While I was in Australia, I thought, let's pick up some of these MCO products to try out. Come to find out, there are a couple of other brands that were kind of Australian exclusive brands that were also doing dupe makeup. So I thought, let's just get a collection of dupes together and see what we think of them. So I have a set of products where I bought the dupe, but I also own the original. And then I have a set of products where I just bought the dupe product, but I don't really have the thing to compare it to. But maybe this will dissuade me from buying the original, right? So I hope you are excited to see these Australian makeup dupes. I am excited to finally test these out because I haven't tried them yet. I've had these for like a couple weeks now, and I haven't tried any of them until I sat down to make this video. So we are doing this together. Without any further rambling, get yourself a snack because this is probably going to take a while. Get yourself a little glass of beverage. Mine, by the way, is sparkling ice, but it's like an Arnold Palmer. It's tea and lemonade. Highly recommend. These are very good. May or may not have spiked it. That's my business. Without any further ado, let's get into it. So I'm going to start with eyes because I always do. Ulta eyeshadow primer. If you know, you know. It's the best. And I think if we're going to give any eyeshadow a fair shot, it has to be on Ulta Beauty eyeshadow primer. I'm sorry I've been so MIA, by the way. Like I said, I went on this trip and then I was kind of dealing with getting back and the slump from that. And then I had graduation coming up and now graduation's over and I'm in like a post-graduation slump. I've been in a lot of slumps. I'm trying to recover from my slumpage. Okay, I'm going to let that dry down and I'm going to show you what we have going here for eyeshadow because we have a couple of options. So one of the palettes that has been on my wish list for ages is the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette, but it's expensive. However, in one of the Australian drugstores, I want to say, I saw this W7 My Atlantis palette. We technically do have this brand in the US, but I don't really see it around a lot, and I definitely don't see the same range of products offered here. But I saw this, and would you look at that? It is literally a dead-on dupe of the Rose Quartz palette, down to that little bubble shade in the middle there. However, I also picked up this palette from a brand called DB, which stands for Designer Brands. I have tried one product from this brand before, but I picked up this I Love It palette because I am a sucker for the neutrals. But this reminded me so much of the good old ABH Soft Glam. So if you compare them side by side, they are pretty close. I would say that the biggest difference between them is the shimmers, but the mattes are pretty close to spot on. I think what I might do is go ahead and try this one because it also goes with something I bought that is not technically a dupe product, but I've been really, really wanting to try it. So their main big like high-end makeup retailer is not Sephora. In Australia, the high-end makeup retailer is called Mecca. So obviously I had to go there and I bought some stuff. And I bought one thing from their in-house brand, which is Mecca Max, and it is this gorgeous duochrome eyeshadow. It's like brown with green flip and like a little bit of a pink. It's confusing the camera. Which is my favorite thing ever. So I kind of want to grab a base look from this and then pop that on as a glitter topper. What do we think? I think that's the move. I went ahead and swatched out some of the mattes side by side. I don't think I actually want to use Soft Glam on the eyes right now. I kind of want to stick to just this. But I did some comparison swatches. So the top row is from Soft Glam and the bottom row is from the Designer Brands palette. They're not dead on color dupes, but the vibes are very much dupes of one another, in my opinion. Like I said, the shimmers don't really match up exactly. However, they look stunning in the Designer Brands palette. They look like they're going to be delicious. I'll swatch out a couple of those just out of curiosity. I am just begging for these not to be super hard and gross. They feel pretty creamy. Oh my god. They're so shiny, but they have a super thin formula. Oh my god, I have to put these on my eyeballs right now. Okay, well, let's hurry up and get into it then. I've spent so much time talking and not enough time putting makeup on my face. Okay, so I'm going to take this palette. I'm going to use probably this big pan of transition shade here and just go in the crease with that. This is going to be a figure it out as we go along kind of look, I think. A good start. Next, I'm going to take this kind of mid-tone brown matte right there and use that a little bit more defined in the crease. Again, super soft formula, but like not as powdery as the ABH shadows. Most of you have probably used ABH shadows before. They have a lot of kick up, a lot of fallout, which is not always a bad thing because a lot of times that means they're more pigmented, but these manage to be very pigmented without the powdery feel. I feel like if we had this brand in the US, they'd probably be giving ABH a run for their money. Finally, I'm going to take this darker brown shade and just put that smack in the inner corner. We're going very simple here, folks. Nothing complicated. I like that that goes on without a huge amount of pigment. Like, it's definitely there, but it's not just, like, stamped in that spot and gonna refuse to blend, because that is my pet peeve with these deepening the outer corner type shades. Go back to my big original fluffy crease brush, take a little bit of that transition shade and just buff out the edges. That was like the quickest crease of my life. Like, the colors haven't muddied together. You can see the definition, but it's well blended. I'm so impressed. I'm gonna take this like bone white kind of color and just dust that all over the top. No harsh lines here. How about that? That's wild. Which of these shimmers would look good as a base for that glitter? This one over here is the most gold, so let's go with that. I don't know, I'm kind of leaning toward the warm tones. Ooh. Or how about we put that on the inside and then that like taupier color on the outside? Why not? We can do whatever we want. My goodness, those go on the lid like butter. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, and now I'm getting like excited. Oh my gosh, the moment we've all been waiting for. I'm gonna put some of this beautiful glittery deliciousness. Can you see how chunky and shifty it is? You can't even see the green shift, but it's got so much green and blue glitter in it. Ooh, it's got that like really thin glittery topper texture. You can see the refractiveness. I'm not gonna lie, I wish that the blue and green glitteriness translated a little bit better, but the super fine shine of the glitter looks gorgeous. So I'm definitely not mad. I feel like with the right look, you could probably get the green and the blue to pop a little bit more. I want to play with this a little bit more with some less neutral looks. However, I love the sparkle that added, because these are very true creamy metallics, and so I feel like it needed a little bit more glitter. This was a good combo. And I do actually feel like that little palette holds up with Soft Glam. I'm very impressed. Very impressed. Okay, moving on to complexion before we finish the eyes. I bought a couple of priming products. So, first thing's not actually a dupe product, but it is from one of the brands I bought several things from. I was just really curious as to what this is. I, as some of you may know, have very, very dry, very sensitive skin, so I'm always looking for something a little bit hydrating, but also looking to blur out some of the texture from my skin's a little bit of overreacting to things, right? So I found this. It's called a hyaluronic acid velvet primer. And I'm like, is this going to be like the texture of the e.l.f. putty primer, but hydrating, or like what is the vibe here? So that's what we're here to find out. The component is kind of giving putty primer, but I love the blue. Ooh, interesting. Is this like tinted? Oh, yeah, the texture kind of gives putty primer. Why is it yellow? Is it supposed to be like skin tone? Okay, the texture is very much giving e.l.f. putty primer. So I'm gonna start on the forehead. Interesting, interesting. This was like $3 Australian or something, which if you didn't know, their currency is worth less than the US dollar. So that's like, you know, $2, $2.50 US. It's definitely blurring. The hyaluronic acid part is interesting because, you know, my idea is that it's going to be like not super mattifying. Intrigued. I'm gonna let that sink into the pores a little bit before I put anything on top of it. But at first glance, I mean, it looks like it definitely minimized the pores. But I think it smooths like a comparable amount to the e.l.f. putty primer. I didn't think this was a dupe product, but I think it might actually be a dupe product. I'll have to try those side by side at some point. But so far, I'm not mad. Next dupe. So this, we're finally going to do a product from the brand that inspired this video, MCO Beauty. And of course, we're going to try the dupe that has been duped around the world, right? The Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. Mine has seen better days, but there she is. Miss MCO came for her neck. If you thought that the e.l.f. packaging, the Halo Glow liquid filter, was like a little too close for comfort on the packaging. So this is the MCO Beauty Flawless Glow, and we're gonna try it out. So I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna pop it all over my face as a glowy base, because it's what I do. It's what I do. I'm gonna be super honest with you. I don't know if this is a spot-on dupe, but it is very much the closest thing I've tried so far. That's crazy. Like, that looks exactly like what my skin looks like when I put on Hollywood Flawless Filter. I'm not going to call it an identical dupe because I haven't tried it enough to really be 100% sure of that. However, if you want something that is as close as humanly possible to the Charlotte Tilbury without paying the Charlotte Tilbury price tag, I would say go find a store that has started selling this and grab this. The e.l.f. is very good, but it's not the same as the Charlotte. This is damn close. Even the packaging feels the same. That is really, truly wild. You may color me impressed. I am going to use a foundation I already had in my collection. This is from that same brand as the eyeshadow palette designer brands. It's the Luminous Hydrating Foundation. I'm just gonna put that all over my face and then we will move on to more of the dupes. Okay, foundation is on. I will ask you to forgive me for the abysmal shade match to my neck. I do have self-tanner on. I don't normally wear self-tanner, but I did it for graduation, so just absolutely abysmal matching, but here we are. I have always liked how that foundation wears, but I feel like the combination of those two primers, my skin was like baby smooth. And I wasn't sure that the MCO was gonna have the same like smoothing, blurring, like light refracting property as the Charlotte, and I think it does. Concealer, I have a dupe. So we all know the Maybelline Instant Rewind Concealer with the sponge on the top and all that jazz, right? So one thing to keep in mind is that in Australia, because all of our American drugstore makeup is imported, it has a huge price markup on it. This in Australia is actually mad expensive. I mean, not like mad expensive, but like way more expensive than it is in the States. I think this is $8 or $9 in the States. It's probably $20 in Australia. It's whack. So guess what? MCO Beauty came for their neck too. It's literally identical packaging. So this is the Instant Erase Concealer. I got the shade Ivory. I will say the shade ranges are pretty abysmal. I think there were maybe 3 shades of this and it went up to like At most a light medium, which was not great, but you know, maybe that was just where I was shopping. I don't know. I have used the Instant Age Rewind Concealer many times. This is, I think, my second or third tube of it. I don't think I've had it since I started the channel, but I have used it many times, and I have used it to refresh my memory before trying this one. So I think I have a decent idea of what I'm getting into. We're gonna see if they're similar. Let's crack this open. If you know, you know, you have to twist it 17,000 times to get it going. Right off the bat, I would say the formula seems a little thinner, which I actually like. I prefer a thin concealer formula, and it is a little bit more yellow, but again, I think the shade is gonna work just fine. I would say it's a little bit thinner, and partially because of the thinness, it maybe doesn't have quite as high of coverage. It feels really good under the eyes though, actually. Like, it feels weirdly cooling and like refreshing. I'm gonna blend it out with the BK Beauty concealer brush. If you know, you know, this is the GOAT. Yeah, so I would say the coverage is actually fairly similar to the Maybelline. It's just that it has a little bit of a thinner formula. I love how that blended under the eyes. I love a thin concealer formula. I love thin foundation and thin concealer, and that is like watery thin. The Maybelline has a little more substance, but I really like how this looks under the eyes. I don't think they're dupes of one another, but if anything, I think the MCO might be a little bit nicer for my preferences. All right, MCO coming in hot out here, man. Okay, let's do cream cheeks. So I have a couple of different cream bronzing products, but I'm only gonna put one on the face. I got one of them kind of because I was just like them and everybody else right now. So we all know about the bronzing drop epidemic. Everybody looked at Drunk Elephant and said, I can do that, and started coming out with bronzing drops. We've seen them from so many brands here in the States. Well, that other brand, the same one who did the primer here, OXX. So we have MCO and we have OXX, right? So OXX also has bronzing drops. And I was just so curious, I had to try them. OXX is the more affordable brand, so all of their products that I picked up were $8 or less Australian, and that's very affordable. So here we have them. I'm just gonna swatch these next to each other to compare them, because I have a different bronzing product I want to use on the face. And I usually only use my D-Bronzy bronzing drops as a foundation deepener anyway. So, ooh, I squeezed out a lot. Woo. So that's the Physicians Formula. I squeezed out a bunch. My bad. Oh my goodness, it's way more pigmented. Woo! That's the OXX and it's still going. Holy free holy, brother. Look how quickly the Drunk Elephant blends out. I'm still going on the OXX. Yeah, so they're both very thin in texture, both very easy to blend. I would say the biggest differences are in color and level of pigmentation. This one's much rosier. I mean, in this light, it's rosier, but then I look at it here and it looks orange. I don't know. In the light that I'm looking at it, this looks much yellower than this, but I'll have to look at it in different lighting. Long story short, different shades, wildly different pigmentation levels. The OXX ones are going to go a lot farther than the Drunk Elephant. So, I mean, that's bang for your buck right there. I take that as a win. However, that's not the bronzing product we're going to be using as a cream bronzer today. Cream bronzer today is going to be another OXX product. It's from the Sparkling Rose line, and it is the bronzer wand. Obviously, this is supposed to be a dupe of Charlotte Tilbury. I noticed from OXX that I think everything in this Sparkling Rose line is a Charlotte Tilbury dupe. So, here we have it. Looking at the shade on the packaging, I am very concerned about this being super, super, super yellow. However, there's only one way to find out. It has that same twist top mechanism that the Charlotte Tilbury has. Obviously feels a little bit cheaper than the Charlotte ones, but you know, it would, considering that it is significantly cheaper. All right, do I want to put this directly on my face? Am I really ready to take that risk? I don't know how pigmented this is going to be. Those bronzing drops were crazy. Okay, let's just start on the forehead. Ooh. Blendy, blendy, before we get out of hand. Okay, okay. The blend is surprisingly easy. I feel like it's not scary pigmented, thank God. And it doesn't looks super yellow. Okay. Oh, thank God. Okay, it's not super yellow. That was just the packaging. It's rosier than I thought it was gonna be. I wouldn't call it like straight up a rosy bronzer, but it's, like I said, it's not yellow. So that's a win, right? Okay, so that was significantly more impressive than I anticipated. I don't know where my expectations were for this, but that blended beautifully. And I've seen people use the Charlotte Tilbury wand and dot it directly onto their face and then have a nightmare of a time blending, and that was so easy. Is Australian dupe makeup where it's at? Is that what's happening right now? I figured this would be like at least comparable to the originals because dupe makeup usually is. Like, it kind of depends where you get it, but a lot of dupe makeup is at least, you know, similar to the original. I wasn't really ready for it to be like very, very good. Moving on, cream blushes. Cream blushes. All of us know how Maddie feels about cream blushes. If you're new here, hi, welcome. I am addicted to cream blushes. So we have options here. We have one thing that I have the original of and one thing that I don't. So I think I want to try the one that I have the original of, but let's just talk really quickly about the one that I don't have the original of. I'm gonna be really upfront and honest with you. I have tried these. I tried them because I didn't have the originals, and so I knew I wouldn't be comparing them to anything in this video, and I was getting really antsy to try something. So these are from MCO. These are the Soft Matte Beauty ones, and they are dupes of the new Charlotte Tilbury Matte Beauty ones, the blushes, the blush ones. So I have two shades. I have Flushed, which is a red, and then I have the shade Amaretto. I love a good, like, spicy brown moment. These are absolutely lovely. They're lovely, but I don't want to squeeze out a bunch, so I'm trying to get the pigment off the sponge on the red one, so the swatch isn't quite as good as the nude. However, there they are. So gorgeous. They blend so beautifully. The red ends up blending out to this really approachable gorgeousness. It doesn't blend that well on my hand because, like I said, I got like a partially dry swatch off the sponge, but like, look how easy that wet swatch blended. So good. They're amazing. Honestly, matte blushes are not always my jam because I'm a very big, like, glowy blush girly. However, for a cream blush, I can get behind it, and these are lovely. Adding a new red cream blush to the collection brings me a lot of joy, so I can confirm, I think these are one of the products they're selling in the States as well. Cannot confirm that they're a spot-on dupe for the Charlotte because I haven't tried the Charlotte. However, I can confirm that they are a very solid cream blush option. The one that I want to try, though, was another product from MCO that is really just, like, audacious. This is the Cheek and Lip Tint in the shade Tango. They're crazy for that. So I do have a Glossier Cloud Paint. I have a couple of shades. This is slightly closer. Neither of them is going to be a spot-on shade match. This is more of like a corally pink. I have Dusk, which is like a peachy brown, and then I have Storm, which is like a dark rosy color. So we're going to compare it to Dusk because this seems like it's going to be a little bit lighter than Storm, but Dusk might be even lighter than Tango. This packaging, they really just said, we do not care. It's an Australian brand. Try to sue us. I want to swatch compare them really quickly first. Ooh, actually, this might be darker than I thought it was going to be. Again, the cloud paints are also quite pigmented. Shake, 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 shake. Okay, let me swatch Dusk really quick. What I can say about the cloud paints is that they are incredibly thin in formula, literally feel like a paint. Quite pigmented, but they blend out literally like water on the skin. I mean, so easy to blend. But they melt right into whatever you're using, honestly. Like, I feel like by themselves, they would leave a little bit of dewiness. But when I've used them in the past, if I'm wearing a dewy foundation, they look dewy. If I'm wearing a matte foundation, they look matte. Like, it really just accommodates to whatever else you're using. So I put like a teeny bit on the back of my hand, like teeny. But this much of Storm would be insane, so let's see. Ooh, I think this one has a little bit more wateriness to it, where the pigment's a little more dispersed. So it's not quite as intensely pigmented as Cloud Paint. It's more of a gel than Cloud Paint, if that makes sense. Like, Cloud Paint feels like a paint. Like, it's like pigment all the way through. This is like a gel. So it ended up being a lot less intimidating than I thought it was going to be. Beautiful color. So let's try it on the face. Cream blush brush. The only fair way to try this is to try it the way that I use Cloud Paint, which is to put it on the back of my hand, blend it out a little bit, and then dip this in it. If you try putting cloud paint directly on your face, you're gonna have a bad time. Back of my hand, swirl with the brush. See how we do. It's really nice. Look how pretty. Just a beautiful little like corally, peachy moment. Super easy to blend, just like cloud paint. Remarkably thin texture, just like cloud paint. They have a lot in common. I would just say that it's a little bit less pigment per drop, you know, than cloud paint, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Cloud paint can be kind of hard to work with because of how pigmented it is. So having a little bit less pigmented option is kind of a good thing. But oh my gosh, look how beautifully that blended. Love the color. Love the color. This, as we go into summer, is going to be so nice. Solid stuff. Solid stuff. I would say if you've been wanting to try cloud paint, the shade range of this is very limited. There were not very many shades of this. But if you've been wanting to try cloud paint, but you don't necessarily want to spend $20 on a cream blush, this is very similar. We have like no misses so far. Not one miss. Cream highlight real quick. I don't have the original of this, but I have tried it from somebody else's makeup collection, so I can kind of compare. And I also don't always use cream highlighter, but I was curious about this. This is from MCO as well. This is the Dewy Face Stick, coming from Miss Rihanna. No one is safe. Obviously, this is supposed to be a dupe of the Matchsticks. The shade is Pearlescent. Interesting. Looks kind of just like a balmy stick with like goldish glitter in it. This might literally just turn out to be like basically a Vaseline stick, which, you know, is a choice. I don't even really see the glitter in it, to be really honest with you. It kind of just feels like a balm, which, you know, for some looks is cool. For some of the like model off duty, like clean girl makeup kind of looks, just putting a little bit of balm on the high points of the face can be a really cute look. But is it my kind of look? Not necessarily. I'm a big highlighter girly. Like, it's literally just balm. So that's fun. Nothing like the Fenty. Not even remotely like the Fenty. However, do I see a utility for it? I do. So this is not something that necessarily is like the best thing ever for my makeup collection. However, if you are going for the I just slathered my face in Vaseline look, like the Sabrina Carpenter makeup with the super ultra glossy dewy cheeks, this could very much help to achieve that effect. Okay, let's pop on some brow gel. This, I believe, is supposed to be a dupe of Glossier's Boy Brow? I forget which one is the gel. But this is Magic Brow from MCO again. Brush on fiber gel. I got the brown shade because I figured I did not need another clear brow gel in my life. I believe this is supposed to be like Glossier's Boy Brow, judging by like the size and general vibe of the packaging. I really hope the medium brown shade works because with my brow hair color, medium brown can be anything from too light to too dark to too warm. Teeny tiny little wand. The color is actually really, really good. I'm feeling #blessed. I love the teeny tiny wand. Teeny tiny wand supremacy. I'm so tired of getting these brow gels that have like mahoosive wands on them. I'm like, do you think I'm gonna do my entire eyebrow in like one sweep? It's a good color, it really is. Adds a good amount of tint. Can't really tell if it's adding hold. I don't think so. I don't think this is like a hold brow gel. I think this is just a tint. But I would like to try it on top of a clear gel because sometimes I will take like a clear gel for hold and then a tinted gel for pigment. So I would like to try this again on top of a clear gel. A lot of definition. I'm not totally done. I am gonna touch it up with a pencil after we get powder and everything on, but I'm not mad. Now we can move on to powdering the face. Okay, so exciting from MCO again. Coming for Charlotte's Neck once more, the Miracle Flawless Pressed Powder. There was a translucent shade that looked like white in the pan. I got the light tinted shade because sometimes with my finishing powder, I like a little extra coverage just because I do get so red in the face and I get real bad dark circles under my eyes. I am going to use this as both a setting powder and a finishing powder today because powders similar to the Charlotte Tilbury do tend to work as both, but we will see if this one does. Start with under the eyes. I am going to take my little tiny fluffy brush, swirl it in here, and then Go in. That concealer has been wearing amazing. Okay, so that was incredibly smoothing and blurring. Do you see that? Do you see how the shine went? And now it's like baby's butt smooth. That's crazy. Good. I need to like touch this. Thin texture, little bit of substance, little bit. Reminds me of the formula, I think, of the number 7 Lift and Illuminate, which I have heard is a dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury. I've tried the Charlotte Tilbury that this is based on, but only a couple of times. My mom has it. Thanks, Mom. So this feels very similar to the number 7, so I would, if anything, maybe even a little bit thinner, which is great because I love a powder that is as close to imperceptible as possible. Let's go all over the face. Yeah, that just annihilated every pore on my forehead. My chin's looking shiny, so let's see how this does for shine control. They kind of went off. I fear they kind of went off. Once again, my goodness. Can MCO do anything wrong? Serious question. I'm going to finish up my eyeshadow and my eyebrows both really quickly. I'm just going to fill in and shape a little bit more with pencil. I always do that with eyebrow gel, so that's no marks against the gel. And I'm going to go ahead and just pop on some lower lash line eyeshadow and pop something highlighty into the inner corner. Then we will do powder cheek products. All right, eyes are done, eyebrows are done. Moving on to powder cheek products. I don't have a dupe product for powder bronzer, but I did go to Australian TJ Maxx, which there is called TK Maxx, and I found this brand called Velvet Concepts, and I picked up their powder bronzer, and I think I paid like $7.99 Australian for this. Apparently, I Googled it. Apparently this retails for 64 bucks. So I at least got a good deal on it. It's a good bronzer. I used it the other night when I went out for graduation parties and stuff. The blend is nice. The pigment's nice. Would I have paid $64 for it, American or Australian? Not in any universe. However, it's a nice bronzer. Powder blushes, we have some fun times. We have some fun times, fun choices. I went a little overboard because, again, I have a thing for blush. Okay, let's look at the one that this isn't really a fair comparison. I just kind of wanted you guys to know that this existed, and I don't think this is the one I'm going to use. However, this is a NARS blush, and this is a W7 blush. These are not shade dupes at all. I have my NARS blush in the shade Torrid, and then obviously I have this one in the shade Rebel. It's just a really beautiful, like, brownie fig color that I'm really excited to play with. However, I don't think that's the one that I'm going to play with today. I also have this, which is from OXX. It's that line that's duping Charlotte Tilbury, the Sparkling Rose line. And I think this is supposed to be a dupe of that new blush highlighter duo that Charlotte put out. However, the blush looks very similar. The highlighter basically just looks like a sparkly blush topper. I'm pretty sure the highlighter in the Charlotte Tilbury one is like a pale people highlighter, you know? So like, I can't use that as a highlighter. However, I can use it as a shimmery blush topper. So I think I might do that on top of this other powder blush, which, if you know, you know. MCO again, coming for people's neck. This is duping the Dior powder blushes. This is the shade Peach Pop. Let's see what it looks like. I think this is the one that I do want to use, and then I'll put some of that sparkly one on top because I am a sucker for a sparkly blush. So we'll see how this goes. They even did like the imprints on the blush, the same as Dior. That is absolutely hilarious. I think this is going for the Dior Coral shade. Oh, that's really nice. It's not like ultra pigmented. It blends easy. That's gonna be a really nice summery shade. I really love how that formula works, how that color looks. It's very beautiful. I am gonna tone it down a little bit with what's left on my powder brush because I forgot that I am putting literal pink sparkles on top of it. And as much as I love to go blush heavy, that might be heavy even for me. Tone it back a smidge. I'm gonna take the blush brush, tap into this shimmery side, and see what we end up with. Oh. Oh. It's so shimmery, bro. Oh my God. Okay, kind of love it. Kind of love it. I feel so blushy. which is my favorite way to feel. So I feel like we did well with the powder blushes as well. Powder highlighter. Once again, coming from Miss Charlotte, OXX Sparkling Rose Highlighter. You can really see from the packaging that it's coming for Charlotte. So she released those highlighters was it like a couple years ago? I don't know. The Charlotte highlighters feel relatively new to me, but maybe they're not actually all that new. I don't know. Time is weird when you're in med school, but anyway, you can tell from the embossing on the inside that it's very much going for the Charlotte Tilbury highlighter. And it looks so shiny, so sparkly. I have to like touch this. I have a thing with highlighters where I need them to be very thin in texture or we're not going to be friends. It's so thin. Oh my God. It's like mad shiny. Goodness gracious. Okay, I'm like excited now. Moment of truth. Yup. Yeah. This is like a see you from space kind of highlighter, but it is so thin. It does not emphasize an iota of texture. So I'm in love with that. That might be one of my favorite things I have pulled out of this haul so far. Whew. Listen, I have a lot of highlighters and a lot of them end up being similar, if not the same, but when you find a really good one, it does something. Mascara. We all know Benefit Roller Lash. We know her, we love her. She's got her curved wand situation with the kind of like spiky comb. This is a packaging only base dupe. I have no idea if this is actually going to be a dupe, but W7, same brand that did the blush, the NARS blush and the Huda Beauty palette dupe, has one called More Lashes. And as you can see from the packaging, I'm fairly certain this is meant to be a roller lash dupe. Let's see the brush. Oh yeah, that is definitely trying to be roller lash. Let's see how well it does. Roller Lash is one of my favorite high-end mascaras I've ever tried, so my standards are quite high. However, I will also say that mascaras fresh out of the bottle, a lot of time it's very hard to judge because I find that a lot of mascaras work their best after they've been open for a couple of months, once they dry out a little bit. But if it's a drier formula to begin with, sometimes they're great fresh out of the bottle. It definitely lengthens and separates, which I think are two things that Roller Lash does very well. Volume is not something you're going to get a lot of from Roller Lash either, but I have found that I have pretty fluffy lashes naturally. I just want them to be a lot more black and a lot longer. So we have one coat, which is nothing life-changing. However, I would say that one coat of Roller Lash isn't particularly life-changing either. So we're going to let that dry and go. I'm going to go like upwards of 3 coats. That's what I usually do with Roller Lash because I have found that if I pile on Roller Lash, people will literally ask me if I'm wearing false eyelashes. I want to see if I can get that effect with this. Now that might be asking a lot from a mascara that I think was like $4 Australian, but we're going to see if we can pull it off. While we wait for that coat to dry, I do have a few lip products to play around with. So let me just pop on a lip liner real quick. Once again, I did not get a dupe lip liner. However, same brand, Velvet Concepts that I found at TK Maxx had a lip liner. I think the full price of this was like $34, which is crazy. But it's just like a very pretty nude pink kind of color. So we're going to lay this down as a base because the lip products that I bought as dupes are kind of sheer, glossier products. And those generally need a little bit more pigment as a base. Okay, second coat of mascara is on, and I am actually quite impressed with how much oomph I got out of them. A little bit got on the lids, so I'll clean that up in a second, but I am quite impressed, especially since I didn't curl my lashes, which, oops, I should have, but I forgot. I think when I've curled my lashes and like actually put in the work to make them look extra great, this could be like up there with Roller Lash in terms of how it makes my lashes look. So I think it performs very similarly. So I'm happy so far. Did not make my lashes look super clumpy, which is very important to me. That's one of the things that I love about the Roller Lash brush is that it doesn't clump up my lashes, and this performed very similarly. So I think this definitely gives this a run for its money. Let's try some lip products. I'm super stoked about this. We have, again from MCO, the Lip Plump. What are we going for here? Obviously, Tarte Maracuja Juicy Lip Plump. I I have the normal Maracuja Juicy Lips. However, this one specifically says Lip Plump. So I'm like, okay, well, the plumping ones from Tarte say Lip Plump. So let's try it with that one. I don't expect these to be a similar color at all. However, I will swatch them next to each other so we can kind of look at what they look like side by side. So packaging, I would say that we are pretty spot on. This is kind of like an orchid pink color. This isn't something I normally wear. They called it a nude pink on the back. However, the other options were like a bright fuchsia or like something that was approaching red. So this is about the neutralist. Let's click, click, click. The clicker mechanism is like, requires more force than the Tarte. The Tarte one, super easy to click, juicy, delicious, super rich and thick on the lips. A little goes a long way. The plumping sensation, I would say, is like pleasant, not overwhelming. So that's the Tarte right there. Super shiny. This one, formula, very similar. That same like goopy formula. I don't know if I'm going to love this color on myself. That's like so lilac, it's approaching purple. And I don't usually do super cool tone pinks. I want to try it on though and see how it feels. Okay, I don't hate the color on as much as I don't love the color in a swatch. I don't hate it on, actually. It has kind of that minty sensation that I think you get from the Tarte. Not overwhelming, not painful. I don't think it's as much as the plumping from the Tarte. This is somewhere in between the Tarte plumping and the regular Maracuja Juicy Lip. Like, I can tell that this is going to wear off in like a couple of seconds. This one's a little bit longer lasting and a little stronger, but neither of them is overwhelming. Still feels very smooth and rich on the lips, not sticky. I do like it. I think it's a strong comparison. I think they're incredibly similar. However, if you want anything outside of the very limited available shade range, you're kind of out of luck. So it's good, but I wish the color was something that I liked a little bit better. I'm going to wipe this off so I can try the other lip dupe. I'm going to reapply that lip liner, so BRB. So last but certainly not least, we will round out our MCO selections with another Fenty dupe. This is the Pout Gloss in the shade Tickle. I don't really have a shade like this in my Fenty glosses. Fenty Glow is a little bit too brown and Fussy is a little bit too pink. This one's more of like a peach. So I brought Fussy and Fenty Glow here to kind of just swatch side by side. But if you look up close, it's kind of a peachy shade with glitter, which is kind of fun because I don't have anything like this in my Fenty options. So let me swatch the two Fenty ones I brought. So this is Fenty Glow and this is Fussy. I'm going to swatch those and then swatch the MCO one right next to it. Fenty glosses have a delightful smell. They smell like cake or candy or something. They are delicious on the lips. The pigmentation level is semi, like they're a little bit pigmented. They stay on better than most glosses without being sticky. I am a Fenty gloss believer. So these are the two Fenty glosses. Top one is Fenty Glow, bottom one is Fussy. Let's compare. I hope it has the big doe foot. It does. It's not quite as plush as the Fenty one. It's like a little bit longer and less like puffy, but I see the vision. They tried to get the smell. It's not perfect, but it's not super far off. Okay, so this one is like almost clear. This gloss is basically clear, which is fine, but it doesn't even have as much pigmentation as the Fenty ones. Down there. You can kind of see like the sparkles in it, but it definitely doesn't pull peach. This is going to be like functionally a sparkly lip gloss. Let's try it on though. So it feels nice on the lips. I like the taste actually. Kind of tastes like candy. Again, not the same as the Fenty, but it tastes nice. No stickiness, which is huge. I don't think it's a dupe of the Fenty though. I hate to end on this note. I don't think it's a dupe of the Fenty, and I think I like the Fenty better still. I feel like it took several dunks to get enough on my lips for them to feel like really coated and hydrated and glossy. Fenty, it's like one dip and you have enough to like really feel like your lips are juicy. I feel like this isn't as shiny as the Fenty. The Fenty, your lips are super glowy. This one's like, it's glossy, but it's not like super shiny. and you would think it would be because it's got sparkles in it, and usually that makes them reflect light a little bit more. It's also a lot thinner. The Fenty has kind of a richer texture, which I can kind of take or leave. I like lip oils and thinner formulas, but if I wanted something to be just like the Fenty glosses, I kind of wanted a little bit more substance. Not a bad lip gloss, but I would also say very much not a dupe of the Fenty. So if that's what you're looking for, you're probably going to have to go buy the original. After a marathon filming session and making an absolute mess out of my table, I can tell you that we have successfully come to the end of this video. Final thoughts. We have some dead-on dupes. We have some not really dupes. And we have some things that are actually better than the original products. We're all over the map here. But overall, I would call Australian dupe makeup a smashing success. And the non-dupe makeup, I would call Australian drugstore makeup a smashing success. At least the things that I have sampled from it, I'm very impressed. The products that I didn't get around to putting on my face in this video, I can update you guys on later if you're interested in hearing about that. So leave me a comment and let me know if you want to hear more later. But yes, that is the end of this video, you guys. It's been a long time coming, but I had so much fun making it, and I feel like I look super cute. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment and let me know your thoughts. And if you want to see more from me, including the travel vlog from Australia that is coming so soon, I swear to God, I just need to finish editing and I promise it's coming, and a lot more makeup thoughts, please hit subscribe. I would absolutely love to have you. Until the next one, bye, you guys.